Good evening, Dharma brothers and sisters. Welcome to another term and indeed another year of Rongton Buddhist Training College philosophy classes to be held weekly on Tuesday evenings, Canberra time. The topic for this term, and probably further on, is the stages of the perfection of wisdom. Perfection of wisdom is a genre of Buddhist literature, and this is a commentary by a historical figure from Tibet called Rongton, who's the name of our college, Rongton Buddhist Training College, is named after, so it's a figure with whom we have a very strong connection. There's lots of people on Zoom, besides the dozen or so in this room, so I thought I would introduce a teacher for this course, Lama Choedak Rinpoche. Rinpoche was born in Tibet into a nomad family, and his family escaped Tibet when the political situation in Tibet became unsafe. Rinpoche went on to train as a monk under high lamas in Nepal and India, which culminated in him completing a 3.5-year full-time intensive meditation retreat, earning him the title Lama. He was later honoured with the title Rinpoche in recognition of his translation work and his expertise in transmitting traditional teachings such as these to contemporary audiences such as ourselves. I'd like to acknowledge the donors and benefactors who have made these teachings financially possible this term. I've been asked to list them. Patricia Bygrave, Sylvia Johnson, Ralph Sutherland, Kath Boswell, Carly Martins, Sarah Wilton, Eric Wenger, Tracy Wells, Sandra Pittle, Tammy Dixon, Tracy Sarsfield, Moira Brown, Chris Shannon, and Mark Dixon. On that note, please give generously, as this is an important aspect of Buddhist teachings spreading to new places like here in Australia. A major reason that Buddhism was able to spread from India to places like Tibet was the Dhanapati in Sanskrit, or benefactor system. It enables access to all who are interested in these teachings, and at this point in time, all proceeds are going to the project we have to build a temple in Canberra, a suburb in the south of Canberra, for which we have already acquired land. So this will be a new physical home for the noble Buddhist teachings to take root here in Australia. So just a reminder, those of us who are here in person, this is the first time we're doing this in person since the pandemic began this time last year. Please keep in mind the social distancing and other regulations while you're here. And for all our attendees on Zoom, welcome to you also, and please remember to stay muted. We may have some time at the end for questions which Rinpoche will initiate if that is the case. So welcome everyone, and I'll leave you with Rinpoche. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamila. Hello everyone. Welcome to those who are here in person, as well as Zooming. Zoomers are a lot more than we could fit any in this room due to COVID restriction, even though things have eased, that we are, our committee is very stringent in terms of observing these rules. So we could probably fit a few extras, but we have a lot more here on Zoom. So many of you, we know each other. Others who are new, thank you everybody for joining in this particular series of teachings. So the teachings we are going to do is a perfection of wisdom. I'm going to do a short introduction about that before the actual teaching, and then go into the actual body of this particular text, why it is so important to go through them. But first of all, we will do a short prayers that you should all have a copy. Those who are here, for those on Zoom, I will screen share the prayers. This isn't the right one, Yog. Well, it's as soon as I press it, showed this was calm abiding one. Screen share, yeah. Oh, that next, yeah. Okay, so everyone, we will do the first of all prayers of refuge. This is the renewing our refuge, our sense of sanity and sensibility that comes when we turn to the Dharma and the way of the enlightened ones. So we need to remind ourselves to do that by acknowledging the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and his teaching, by turning to which we draw a lot of benefit and help. And here we're going to do that by listening to the teachings, and then it will not only benefit us, but it'll benefit our future. It will benefit to change our perspectives of life, of the past that sometimes is still bruising on us, because we need to give some kindness towards the past, to people of the past and situations. By listening to these teachings, we can look back and then change things by virtue of listening to this teaching. Not only will prepare us differently, better in the future, but also we can review our past in a much more sanely, because we have heard the teachings. They say if you heard the teaching, it will go into your heart until it completely hurts your wrong pains. Wrong pains. Lots of people keeping wrong pains, and all those wrong pains will be hurt. And means destroyed. So, because all treatment tends to hurt a bit. if the treatment doesn't hurt, doesn't really recover much. So teachings are sometimes quite hurtful. Teachings hit on the nest of our problems. And then, if we did really pay heed to it, they'll bring bountiful benefit to you, and to the extent of attaining enlightenment. So we're going to recite the refuge prayer by dedicating our effort in that way, and then commitment to practice loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, as a result of the gift that this teaching has, a power to make us to do those very well. So we will recite those 2-3 times each, and followed by requesting the teachings, one verse. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Hajere Fyede Lajeme Bhavaje Ajehendala Aishare Buddha Vajuvebe Henda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Hajere Fyede Lajeme Bhavaje Ajehendala Aishare Buddha Vajuvebe Henda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Hajere Fyede Lajeme Bhavaje Ajehendala Aishare Buddha Vajuvebe. Mehobis happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never bar from the happiness that no suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from judgment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know our power for happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know our power for happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, those near and far. God possession of it, the Yatandharama Agrelo Hekam Egos. So, firstly, would like to say a little bit of the perfection of wisdom, Prajnaparamita, as a Buddhist literature in general, and then particularly these texts. Buddha, with his infinite love and compassion, persevered and took up the altruistic way to live for many, many kalpas in the lifetimes. And finally, he fulfilled all the requirements of the training of a bodhisattva and practicing these very 10 perfections, perfection of wisdom, then attained full enlightenment, historically as the Buddha, and then he gave 45 of his years of his life, since he attained enlightenment age of 36 in Bodh Gaya on full moon of May. Then he gave the teachings 49 days exactly after. For there was a gap after his enlightenment before he gave any teachings. And that is usually if you go from the full moon of the May until the day of the turning the wheel of Dharma, which is calendarly, if you're exactly 49 days. So he spent seven weeks pondering over the suitability of his realization as a teaching to everybody, whether everybody can, hear and understand his teachings. He actually said to himself that nobody will understand his teachings. He actually said one famous verse, he says that it is profound, it is peaceful, it is uncontrived, it is unconditioned. I have realized such a nectar of Dharma, the truth, that is so profound, so peaceful, so uncontrived, so unconditioned. Whoever were I to go to teach, nobody looked like going to not understand this. Thus I shall reside in the forest without talking about it. So he therefore made up his mind not to teach his realization. So he spent 7 weeks deep contemplation, during which all the memories of his past lives as a bodhisattva keep come. So all the past life history of his past lives came in his meditation. Anyway, exactly, not straight away, but soon thereafter, when he was resting 7 different spots in around Bodh Gaya. There are actually 7 locations where he spent each week, pondering, reflecting on different meditations. And there, then Brahma and Indra, who the Devas came and requested him to give the teaching, knowing that one of the greatness of the great beings are that no matter how much realized they are, they will never go and teach others, saying, "I know this." So they have to be requested. So therefore, Brahma and Indra took the liberty to request on behalf of everyone by offering him the 1,000 spoke gold golden wheel, and conch shells swirling into the clockwise direction as a true token of a request to give the teachings. And so then Buddha gave teachings, as we know, first starting with the even though he met two merchants before he met the 5 mendicants to give teachings. Some people argue that first disciple were the 2 lay people, but they don't regard that as official teachings Buddha gave to them. Anyway, first teaching is regarded as turning the wheel of Dharma by teaching the 4 noble truths. So entire ministry of teaching of Buddha's teaching for 45 years is mainly classified into three turnings of the wheel of Dharma. First turning of the wheel of Dharma is generally said to be on the topic of the 4 noble truths. That is talking on the nature of what the 4 noble truths are, and then what one should do with those, realizing those 4 truths, and then how to actually put an end to the misery of the suffering through realizing the 4 noble truths. So that was regarded as a teaching mostly related with the relative truth, teaching mainly what to do, what not to do in terms of suffering, how not to create suffering, how to create happiness and peace in one's life. So almost like very much agreeing to the principles of the Indo-religious practices, thou shalt not, all the things that what one shouldn't do. There wasn't I don't think anything particularly in the general kind of principles of the teaching. They didn't depart very far from the Indian religious sentiment of practicing non-violence and discipline and meditation and simplicity and monasticism. That was mainly the teaching covered in the first turning of the wheel of Dharma. It's all on relatively what one shouldn't do, what one should do as a discipline, as a meditation, as a wisdom. But in the second turning and third turning of the wheel of Dharma, according to Mahayana Buddhist teaching, then he taught higher levels of teachings, constituting what we call the middle turning of the wheel of Dharma, on which saying that everything that we see, we recognize things as do not have any inherent characteristic that things are themselves by themselves. So basically, things are dependent. Things have causes, but they do not really exist the way they appear. So that's mainly the third turning of the wheel of Dharma. Third turning wheel of Dharma. Final turning wheel of Dharma is where he thoroughly expounded on the teachings of the emptiness. So perfection of wisdom, according to that, is belonging to that second and the third. So therefore, what we're talking about is that the teaching of perfection of wisdom, Prajaparamita, is largely a body of teaching texts only accepted and honored in the Mahayana Buddhist tradition. In the Theravada Buddhist tradition, they don't accept any of the Mahayana teachings of perfection of wisdom, but they are all Mahayana Buddhist literature necessarily. So the shortest of the perfection of wisdom teaching is the Heart Sutra, that is only 25 line worth length, and the longest one is considered to be a 100,000 line, which is usually 16 volumes. And then the middle length is the one is the 25,000 verses, which is 4 volumes, and the shortest one, not the brief one is the Heart Sutra. The shortest one is the 8,000 verses one, that is called Ashtasasika. That's 8,000 verses. So we actually have quite a lot of different. Those are the 3 men: the long, medium, and short. And then the brief one is the Heart Sutra. Heart Sutra is considered to be shortest, briefest that people
do daily prayers, do daily practice. You can see how widespread the perfection of wisdom or Prajaparamita is by the popularity of reciting Heart Sutra in all Buddhists across the Mahayana region, all the way to Japan, China, not to mention all the other Mahayana countries, Tibetan Buddhism, of course, all the Vajrayana. The perfection of wisdom is a very important teachings. So that is what we call canonical teachings, all the words of the Buddha. These are not writing of any of the Indian Panditas. These are all said to be words of the Buddha that was later on revealed by Nagarjuna and then brought out. Until then, it is said that those teachings were kept by the Nagas. Nagas were appointed as the custodians of these teachings and then were not quite revealed until Nagarjuna's period of time. Nagarjuna is a 2nd century master. He has a great gift and skill. He himself was invited by the Nagas undersea, and then they revealed this teaching to him, and he therefore revealed to the world. So Nagarjuna is considered to be someone who revealed this teaching to the world. Until then, this Mahayana literature were there, practiced but not quite widely circulated. Such is the belief. In any way, they actually circulated many different versions of perfection of wisdom, in addition to the four I mentioned. That the one is called Dhammankatra Sutra. That's 750 verse length. So that's actually a little bit longer than the Heart Sutra, but shorter than the 8,000 verses. So therefore, they have a system of dividing all the Prajaparamita literatures in the Buddhist tradition into mother-like literature and child-like literature. So there are actually 17 major text. One is called Ratna Guna Sutra, which is a versified one, metered version of the sutra. So there are quite a lot of text. And if you really look at this, in the Tibetan and let alone Chinese and Japanese Buddhism, none of them actually study and read those texts except religiously. In Tibetan Buddhism, quite a lot of homes have 12 volumes or 8 volumes. At least one volume. Most families have 8,000 verse volume at home. They have read at least once a year. They bring the 4 or 5 lamas at home. They read it, have them read at the home once a year. They never leave it unread, at least once a year. Not that the lay people listen to them. They bring the monks and lamas at home and have them read. And then once they're read, sometimes they take the volumes around the valley or villages to bless the land. So they honor the scripture text of Prajaparamita so much that everybody has a possession of one of the kind of version, and if they're all read each year, so these are the kind of great kind of respect given to the Prajaparamita as a literature. 16 volume, 4 volume, 1 volume, and the shortest one, Heart Sutra. As well as the other versions. But starting with Nagarjuna and many Nalanda Panditas, they wrote number of much more cryptic, but Mahayana literature. Mahayana Sutra Alankara by Asanga and Maitreya is the actual monastic curriculum. They study a few years just on that text. But that's a very difficult text because it's all very, very cryptic, written in very metered version. Unless you have a commentary, you wouldn't know what they're talking about. They're so cryptic. So most of the Nalanda Pandita's writings are like that, and most of the Indian scholars, like Nagarjuna, like say Maitreya, Vasubandhu, Asanga's and Maitreya's text called Mahayana Sutta Alankara has a commentary by Vasubandhu on that very Mahayana literature. But that's not a Buddha Vachana. It's not the canonical. It's the commentary literature, Shastras. So Shastras are Indian commentaries on Buddha's teachings. So all the Nalanda Pandita writing are not considered to be teachings, word by word teachings of Buddha, but they're writing their writings on Buddha's teaching, which is called Shastra, commentary. And so all the Tibetan monastical colleges, their curriculum is consisted of many such textbooks. One of them is Perfection of Wisdom. Now, so all the Indian Mahapanditas as well as Tibetan scholars have written commentaries on Mahayana Sutra Alankara and Perfection Wisdom and all related materials. But Rongton, who is the author of this text, has also written actual commentary on that. But this particular text he has written is not an actual commentary to a root text by any Indian, but rather a very indigenous, original writing by himself, which he beautifully weaves it in context with the Four Noble Truths in relation to perfection wisdom. He doesn't separate the Four Noble Truths as some elementary teachings and goes into the perfection wisdom as empty. He actually weaves the Four Noble Truth teaching within the perfection wisdom and then talks about the various facets in an amazing fashion. So I've taught on this text a few times before, but this time I'm going over the actual completed draft translation, which has taken a while to reach this point, and so therefore. It's not only being able to read to you the translation, but also giving a little bit of commentary here and there on top of that. What makes this Rongton's commentary very unique is he departs from the traditional way of using one root Indian text, then giving commentary here and there, otherwise strictly adhering to the Indian text. He doesn't do that. He actually writes as he himself is the master on the perfection of wisdom, which he is recognized as. So this makes me having to tell a little bit about who Rongton is. Rongton was born in eastern Tibet in 1367. He's a 14th century master. And his family was a follower of Bon religion, and his father was a very high scholar within the Bon religion, and Rongton was very well groomed in that philosophy and teaching. He became a very great scholar, in fact, in that school. And then he felt he need to go to central Tibet, and so he traveled to central Tibet, not realizing he will never return his life, never return to home ever since he left. So he never went to go to. Anyway, what happened is Rongton's desire to go to central Tibet meant that he had an amazing karmic kind of predisposition to study all the Buddhist texts, the Nalanda Pandita's texts, and as well as Tibetan masters of the day. And he became a very celebrated scholar at the age of 22. He was already elected as a teacher at one of the early Tibetan monastic colleges called Sangpo. Sangpo is just on this lower valley of Lhasa. Sang means secret. Pu means it's a hidden valley. It's a hidden valley. It's like a really good monastic place to be hidden away in the valley. And that Sangpo monastery predates all these famous Tibetan monasteries right now we talk about. And he studied there, he taught there, and the founder of the Sangpo was Rongton Sheja Kunrig. So there were and quite a few early translators who were contemporary of Lotsawa Rinchen Zangpo. So we're talking about early 11th century Tibetan early masters. And Rongton, having become very well versed in the teachings, at the age of 22, he was appointed as a teacher in Sangpo College, and then he also met his main teacher Yakton Sangye Pal. At age of 22, with whom then he received all the many more teachings on the perfection of wisdom and so on. So anyway, to cut the story short, Rongton became a great commentator on the perfection of wisdoms. He has written commentary all the 5 signs of Maitreya's texts, like what do you call Uttara Tantra, Mahayana Sutra Alankara, and Mahayana Sutra Alankara, and what you call the distinguish between middle and extreme, what you call, and as well as the two other texts. So he's actually written 10 volumes as commentaries, writings, and he became very celebrated teacher. He became the teacher who has the most number of students, including the first Dalai Lama and sixth Karmapa. So he was very highly revered. Not many have enjoyed that status to become teacher of the Karmapa as well as Dalai Lama, first Dalai Lama, the founder of Trashilumbo Monastery. So he became teacher of that as well as sixth Karmapa. So Rongton was a very highly revered. Not only then, but even today, his commentaries are studied by all Tibetan lineages because of the earliness of his text. But Rongton also was one of the first. Rongton being contemporary to Lama Tsongkhapa, also he had got a lot of philosophical argument in relation to that. He was able to point quite early kind of complications with the certain interpretation and the writings of Tsongkhapa by Rongton, and that was then fully taken up more fully by Gorampa and Kyabje Chogye and others. In 1435, towards the end of his life, Rongton founded Nalanda Monastery. That is the monastery of His Eminence Chogye Trichen Rinpoche's monastery, and so he passed away only 10 years after that, but he was survived by his galaxies of students, and all of his 10 volumes of his writings have been recently collected and published. But this particular text was not to be found. When there was only one really handwritten copy in Nepal in 1976, when the then Khunu Rinpoche, who's the teacher of His Holiness Dalai Lama, who taught him Bodhisattva's way of life, came as a pilgrim to our doorstep in the monastery in Lumbini, and he asked us to give him shelter. We didn't know who this was. We didn't realize it was Khunu Rinpoche. So when His Eminence Chogye Trichen Rinpoche, my teacher, heard who he was, he said, "Oh, really? I can't believe this is sort of a hidden teacher you wouldn't get to hear teachings from, and he arrives at your doorstep." It's because he was going on a pilgrimage on his last leg of his life, by the way. He died a year after, so he really was going for a pilgrimage, and he wanted a room, and we had only one room for special guests, and he had it. And then he had a little bit of conversation. His Eminence, my teacher, couldn't believe that Khunu Rinpoche walks to your doorstep, and you couldn't recognize who is he, because he doesn't have any of the entourage or many staff. Then some high lamas, scholars usually is accompanied by. He only had one very frail lady who was really his caretaker, his assistant, his cook, and she was everything he had. And you wouldn't recognize. He looked more like an Indian sadhu, then kind of celebrated high learned Tibetan Lama who usually travels or lives in a particular fashion, more like a royal kind of status. The Chinese and Tibetan Buddhists treat their teachers like a prince or king, whereas the Indians really adopt them like a mendicant, sit on the floor and never live in comfortable place. Anyway, he has definitely adopted that kind of lifestyle, very unrecognizable. And among the few teachings that my teacher agreed him to give was this. And this was because His Eminence hasn't heard teachings on this, even in Tibet, So when he realized Khunu Rinpoche, who has been to Tibet in the early 1930s, and he lived 20 years traveling all over Tibet, studied under 45 years, and then came back to India just before the communist takeover, and then he just lived more like a hidden yogi with the other Indian sadhus and gutters of Varanasi. He was living there, unrecognizable as a highly realized. He just looked like a mendicant, very simple sadhu. anyway, so he gave this teaching to His Eminence, and of course, we being His Eminence's followers, we all sat in. We didn't know what we were listening to those days, So I had a very clear memory of how of his accent, of giving the teaching, because he had a very strong accent. He come from Kinau in the Ladakh region, but his Tibetan is very good, but his accent was very strong, but in a very beautiful way, beautiful, very scholarly language, but he used some kind of very heavy accent of Kinauri, and so he gave a number of teachings. So and this very text, my teacher only had one copy that really that was not very well written, and so as he was agreed to give teaching, we all copy that we all, and we listened to, but we weren't really hearing much of the teaching. We were so fascinated by this incredible person who is so learned and realized, but who just have this complete lack of self-importance. What he did, or what he ate, or how he said, or what he wore, and how he did, everything was just like he's nobody. He's realized this. He's that kind of so unimportant of himself. So that was quite an eye opener for me, because my teacher, His Eminence, is very high Lama, high Lama already, and he also revered him, and yet the person who's revering to his look hasn't got any stature that he shows, but yet when he speaks, every words is no ordinary words, Anyway, so of course that was 1975. That was 1975. Can you believe? And then 1975, and then of course when I went to Tibet in 2007, they said they were putting all the works of Rongton together. In that, this text was included. So I was delighted to see the text coming. So since then, there are a few better editions were published. So that's the story of the text. And most important thing is this text will take we'll talk a couple of terms, maybe 3 or 4 terms. So if you are really diligent enough to stick around, I think it would be worthwhile to do. It's only once a week, but because I'm going to go through every word of the text that I have really taken quite a few years to translate, and I'm going to sort of have a revised version, I suppose, towards the end of the reading that's done, and then we would have learned a lot from this. So thank you for everybody being here. So I will just say short few words that I recall Khunu Rinpoche used. What he says is standard Tibetan opening of teaching, saying that that for the benefit of all sentient beings, one must reach the perfect state of enlightenment. For that purpose, I'm going to listen to the teachings. The subject matter that I'm listening to, is the writing of illustrious great Rongton, the expounder of 60 over works. So he said he read that particular kind of that much in Tibetan. It just completely got imprinted on my mind, word for word. So I would like to say that. And my colleagues, when I say this, they all said I'm sounding exactly like Khunu Rinpoche, because his accent is so clear, and nobody has that accent. And I don't have that accent when I usually speak, except when I repeat those words for words. So I will do that. Der tayewe samjantam je ye don de dobja lana maje ba yang tabr zobe sanji ye gomban tabr ja nyamba janju ye chodu tuke de lebra salta de sember nawar shu der gansambra jave chene gunje ronde chembo shungja mawa teni yenze be sherab ye paro de chembe lamnyam solembe remba mse me she chawa shubra cheba la. So that's he introduced the title of the text. Title of text is Lamp Dispelling the Darkness of the Path and Stages of the Practice of the Perfection of Wisdom. So title is very important in terms of what he's saying is that he's writing these texts in order to dispel the lots of misunderstanding in order to practice the perfection of wisdom. So therefore his text is therefore departs from the normal strict requirement of the structure of following a formal text, but he rather writes it himself as a master of these contents. Here is a comprehensive, medium, and brief instruction. So, brief instruction on the practice method of entire meaning of the perfection of wisdom, known as the stages of the path of the perfection of wisdom. It is unique and unknown to all. He says this is unique because nobody has dared to write an indigenous, original writing on perfection of wisdom. They're always writing on basis of previous other Indian texts. But Rongton confidently writes these out of his own experiential knowledge by weaving the teachings of the Four Noble Truths with every one of the 6 perfections, and therefore he makes it very unique. Says therefore it is unique and unknown to all. Unknown to all. This means this has not been done by anyone before. By the way, Rongton was so excelled and masterful of his knowledge in the perfection of wisdom that he even wrote a text in his collected works that is key to how to memorize 8,000 verses. So because he knew everything so well, and he's written many texts. So in the introduction, or when in the translation, I have actually put translated all the titles of his works, 10 volumes, as well as 28 works of his that are lost, that has been plagiarized, and people take it away and use it differently, but it hasn't survived. But we got the titles. We got the titles that got lost, that never couldn't find for some reason. Among this, what we have got here is only part of one volume. It's not a complete volume, so relatively quite small text. His writing is very succinct and looks like quite a lot of the saying that he put is you can see it's more like a expression of experience rather than writing like a poem. So the beautifulness of just for the language, it's not for the language, but more like a realizational writings. Doha, what they call in the Indian Mahasiddhas, they call Doha. Doha are some experiential songs, like Milarepa's songs are all teachings really. Like I think the Rongton's writings are not metered, but they are all in prose. But he offers that. That's why it's unique and unknown to all. And then he pays homage to the supreme deity, who is Snow Peak Mountain. So Snow Peak Mountain is Avalokiteshvara. So he pays homage to Avalokiteshvara, which is a tradition of scholars. At the beginning of writing, they pay homage to the deity in order to pray for the success of his writing, so it will go very far to benefit many sentient beings. Then he writes quite a few verses, which I quickly read the translation. These are just salutations before he goes to the topic. With humble respect, I pay homage to the crown of the protector of the supreme being. So this is obviously referring to Buddha. I pay homage to Buddha, the chief protector, who possesses loving heart to all sentient beings without exception. So he's paying salutation to the Buddha, because as I mentioned, the Buddha is the actual source of all the teachings. Tibetans got no teachings at all. So don't ever think that Tibetan teachings, they are not Tibetan teachings. They're teaching of the Buddha. And then the Indian taught the Tibetans. Then they are still Buddha's teachings. They are not Tibetan teachings. So any careful scholar who pay homage to the original Buddha is really good, because otherwise people pay homage to someone else, and which is not historically not the Buddha, or someone else came maybe 10 centuries later. But he pays homage to Shakyamuni Buddha, who is the Lord of all sentient beings. Yeah, you soar high in the sky of pure Dharma Dhatu and possess the two perfect wings of method and wisdom, and you vanquish the host of evil troops of Naga, homage to the feet of undefeated king of the Garuda. That's to Nagarjuna. So he pay homage to Nagarjuna. So that shows the lineage. Second one, in the sky of the non-dual conceptual adamantine mind resonate the echo of the superb melody of the Brahma. You reveal the vision to whoever is suitable to be tamed, homage to the meaningful seer of the reality. So this refers to one of the luminaries of successor to Nagarjuna, but I don't know exactly who the name refers to. There's a bit of poem going on there. Anyway, the third verse is perfection wisdom is the supreme mother of all the victors. So here he introduced that perfection wisdom, which is perfection wisdom, is the supreme mother of all the victors, mean enlightened ones. Means all enlightened ones become enlightened by realizing perfection wisdom. So therefore, the text or the meaning of the text who realize, they become enlightenment. So therefore, she is the one who give birth. So the one who give birth is the realization of perfection wisdom, and those who become victors are those who are able to conquer the ego, basically, by realizing the perfection wisdom. So perfection wisdom is the supreme mother of all the victors. So here it refers to the text perfection wisdom as well as the deity perfection wisdom. There is a deity, female Buddha for perfection wisdom, which is deified form of the text. First was the text perfection wisdom. Then the text was so highly revered as a deity, and so then the text become its form of a deity, for goddess, So therefore, deification of the text Prajaparamita become deity, So deity is the pinnacle of the banner of the victory of the sages' teachings. So it's talking about the perfection wisdom is the pinnacle of the banner. If you really go on the victory banner of enlightenment, it's because you realize perfection wisdom by realizing selflessness and developing ultimate bodhicitta. As the best and excellent path of powerful yogis, you teach the adherents according to the aptitude and faculty. So this is talking about the practitioners, disciples, and lineage holders who have realized the perfection wisdom are carrying this legacy. The gem garland of instruction, which fulfills the hopes and desires, is the wondrous succession of the 6 teaching lineages. So here, Rongton is talking, there are 6 teaching lineages of the perfection wisdom. Kamalashila, who is the Lord of Yogis, is the stream of nectar, well-spoken teachings without exception. So now he goes to pay homage to Kamalashila. Kamalashila is the 10th century Indian master who was invited to Tibet in order to engage in debate between the gradualist and the southern school, the Zen masters from China, and the Indian master was Kamalashila. So Kamalashila was invited to Tibet in order to engage in a philosophical debate. So here, Rongton gives credit to Kamalashila, who is the Lord of Yogis. And by the way, Rongton himself is a reincarnation of Kamalashila, because Kamalashila wrote both the stages of meditation, 1, 2, and 3, and Rongton, about 4 centuries later, wrote the commentary on his own writing 4 centuries later. So that most of the reincarnated masters tend to go to carry the legacy of his predecessor. So he's paying homage to Kamalashila. In terms of, if you really look at the succession lineage, Kamalashila became very important. Kamalashila was invited to Tibet at the request of Shantarakshita. Shantarakshita said that if there were any problems, doctrinal dispute or something like that, please invite my disciple Kamalashila from India to settle the disputes. And so Kamalashila and Shantarakshita were the 2 very Indian masters, among many others, by the way, whose features very important in Tibetan Buddhist history. Your ocean of knowledge, all knowledge, is complete without exception. Your compassion is emanated in the form of a prince, like a fully waxed full moon in autumn night. White brilliant light of infinite compassion spread afar. So this refers to the Tibetan kings who assisted Kamalashila to settle the disputes, because Tibetan Buddhism in Tibet received royal patronage, and all the Tibetan kings and their families were great benefactors of Dharma, and without the Dharma benefactors, Dharma would have not easily reached Tibet. So this is salutations to by Rongton to these predecessor lineages, and then he writes this one verse which refers to what he's going to do. Your great clouds of heart cause downpour of love. So he gives the poem of the clouds of good heart, means great compassion, and causes the downpour of loving kindness, this wondrous gist of nectar of instruction. So that's what he's going to write, came from the downpour of the loving kindness of his teachers, which removes all the poisonous illness and sufferings of beings. So there's those who pay heed and listen, understand, fathom these teachings, will also receive this nectar and will remove all the illnesses, physical, mental, emotional, and sufferings of beings. I will write down the heart instructions of Holy Indian. This Holy Indian referred to Patamba Sangye. Patamba Sangye. Patamba Sangye is the founder of the church practice, church practice, and Machig Labdrun, they played a significant role. And so this very much interesting say that Patamba Sangye, Kamalashila, and Rongton, they were all reincarnations. The Rongton is reincarnation of not only Kamalashila but also Patamba Sangye, and then he himself remember. So here now he goes to talk about that great Holy Indian. Holy Indian, Tibetan we call Patamba. Patamba means Holy Father. Pa means Father. Tamba means Holy Father. It's like a pan-religious term to refer to the Holy One, Holy Father, yeah. The theistic people refer to the God, Holy Father, but Tibetan Buddhists call the teacher Holy Father, Patamba. But not many people, no other teachers are given that title except to Patamba. Patamba is usually depicted as the one with the very long hair. He's doing church practices, and he's got a very amazing history about him. So here now Rongton tells the history. He says, the Venerable Great Indian is the jewel in the crown of the era of 500. So in Buddhist history, Tibetan Buddhist history divide the whole Buddhist era into 10 lots of 500 years, so 5,000 year period. So he says in this 500 year era, this Venerable Patamba Sangye is jewel in the crown. You are the mentor to all intelligent ones who seek your guidance. In the digital era, you have come as the regent of the Buddha in a princely human form. He's talking about the biography of the Patamba Sangye having been an Indian prince. In order to instill faith in the mind of future devotees, you are learned in the 5 fields of knowledge. The 5 fields of knowledge usually, according to this, they have 5 outer and 5 inner, but here generally 5 fields. Firstly is arts and medicine, and linguistics and epistemology and inner science. So talking about he who has learned it in 5 fields, because those who have mastered 5 fields of knowledge is given the Pandita. Pandita means who masters 5 fields of study. In order to admit disciples in the equal scale of practice, to destroy the opponent's evil views, and in order to uphold the lineages of the deities of meditation, space-dwelling gurus, dakinis, numerous teachers with true knowledge, you are impartial to the devotees, the great Lord of Yogis. You are the guide of devotees of great masters. So here he gives this eulogy to Patamba Sangye, and then he says, the instruction of the six chosen lineage of perfection wisdom have come into your hands. So he says that Patamba Sangye became the repository of all the six lineages from where the six different lineages the perfection wisdom came from. So what are the six lineages? The source of bliss, the lineage from the Tushita, celestial Tushita heaven. That's the first lineage. So that's one lineage came from the Tushita heaven. That's the first one. Second is source of wealth, the lineage from the subterranean realm of the Nagas. That's what we're talking about, where the Nagas kept the texts until such a time and then gave it to Nagarjuna, who therefore revealed to the world. So that's second one lineage. Third is the source of blessings, the lineage from western realm of Dakinis in Odhyana. So this is talking about how the Dakinis also preserved the teachings, and then they were revealed from the Odhyana. That's the third lineage. Fourth lineage, the source of knowledge, the lineage from Eastern India, Bay of Bengal. Now, if you really look at it, Bay of Bengal is the place where a lot of Indian masters came to Tibet. One particularly included is Atisha. Atisha, the Dipankara 11th century, came from there. And the fifth one is source of qualities, the lineage from southern India, southern Bhatta. So that refers to where the Nagarjuna grew up, and he also passed away. There is a place called Nagarjuna Kunda in South India, refer to that. Sixth one is source of wonder, the lineage from southern Sandalwood realm of Bishokota. So this refers, giving the credit to the six different realms from where all this teaching came, and Patamba Sangye became the repository of all these perfection wisdom. The extractive essence of the meaning of the six lineages of the instructions of the perfection wisdom will be discussed in two sections. So now Rongton is talking how he will discuss the teachings. First, revealing the meaning of the lineage, and revealing the actual meaning of the instruction. So what does it mean by lineage? What is a lineage? Meaning of the lineage. Yeah, meaning of the lineage, and then the revealing the actual meaning of the instruction the lineage holds. Yeah, the lineage is only important if the lineage has the instruction. Yeah, so revealing the meaning of the meaning of the lineage refers to previous Dipankara. This is very important and interesting. Dipankara Buddha is the previous Buddha previous to Shakyamuni Buddha. Yeah, previous Buddha Shakyamuni to Buddha Shakyamuni is Dipankara. Dipankara Buddha taught to Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, Dipankara taught to the Shakyamuni Buddha. After Shakyamuni taught to Ananda. Yeah. Ananda. Because Mahayanas don't think that what Ananda was Theravadan. There's a Mahayana, the Ananda was heard every teaching Buddha gave, so he would have also heard the Mahayana teaching. So Buddha taught it to Ananda, then the lineage reached up to 36th successor. So perfection wisdom lineage went for 36th successor, named Bhikshu Singha, when the evil king severed the lineage. So when the Bhikshu Singha, the 36th, during his reign, then there was an evil king who persecuted Dharma in India, and then there was the lineage come to an abrupt end, so to speak. Then means this means, according to Rongton's kind of a dating system, 36 after 36th successor, then after propitiating Maitreya, as Arya Asanga. Arya Asanga is the 4th century. He's a brother of Vasubandhu, yeah? And a grand disciple of Nagarjuna. So during his time, so that's quite a 4th century. From the Buddha until Bhikshu Singha, 36 lineages. And then comes the Asanga. Asanga is grand disciple of Nagarjuna and a younger brother of Vasubandhu, yeah, and author of the five amazing texts. So this is very interesting, which most Tibetans haven't heard this, and these days there is every reason to believe this. He says, during that time, then after propitiating Maitreya, propitiating Maitreya. Who? Asanga, yeah? Asanga was meditating on Maitreya. After Maitreya, Arya Asanga heard it directly from Shakyamuni Buddha. He actually saw Shakyamuni give the teaching, but he thought it was Maitreya. Because Maitreya hasn't even come to the world, let alone give any teachings. Yeah? So it's most likely Shakyamuni Buddha appeared in his meditation and heard the teachings. But he believed that a vision he had was Maitreya. Because he was a Maitreya fanatic. Like some people are these days. They don't want to talk about the living Buddha's reign. They want to talk about future Buddha's reign. So he actually had the vision of the Shakyamuni Buddha from whom he received this teaching, but he thought it was Maitreya. So so this completely throws everything in chaos, which most Tibetan Buddhists don't want to go near. They think, the Maitreya taught everything to Asanga. As Maitreya is not even come to the world yet, and how can he teach during the reign of Shakyamuni Buddha? It's historically problematic. When we said the future Buddha wouldn't appear until this Buddha, eon of this Shakyamuni Buddha's eon will all elapse, and then the next Buddha will appear Maitreya teaching. So the whole cult, I would say, whole cult of that, all the texts the Asanga heard from Maitreya is just a belief. It's just a myth. But actually he heard from the Shakyamuni Buddha, because Shakyamuni Buddha is only 36 succession before, which is 4th century till 400 BC. Yeah, about 800 years. It's quite believable. 36th generation, that's quite believable. But of course, people can have vision of the Shakyamuni Buddha. But people tend to see who they think they are rather than who they actually are. So what Rongton is saying is that all the belief that Maitreya taught Asanga is actually Shakyamuni taught Asanga, but Asanga told he saw Maitreya. The whole story. So, but believe that he had a vision of his vision was Maitreya. Having directly heard perfection wisdom from him, doesn't matter who the who is, doesn't matter. So doesn't matter who the who is, do we? Because all Buddhist teaching is saying there's no who. No real who that really exists. Anyway, that's quite interesting. He taught it to his younger brother Vasubandhu. Yeah, he taught to his younger brother Vasubandhu. So Vasubandhu previously was in he's an ancient today present modern Pakistan. Is his birthplace, the Peshawar, on the border of Kabul. And he was a Theravadan monk. He was a really cerebral Theravada. But then his brother taught all these things. He completely changed. And who taught it to Aryadeva? So Vasubandhu taught it to Aryadeva. And who is Patampa's uncle. See? Patampa's uncle. So this is amazing. Rongton connects all these people who. He then taught it to Venerable Tampa, which is the Patampa, the Indian who is well known like the sun and moon. He came to Tibet. Yeah, he came to Tibet. So he definitely is. I think 12th century. 12th century. Yeah, 12th century. So that's talking about the lineage, yeah, the lineage. As far as that, this lineage is never discussed. Most people think the Asanga heard everything from Maitreya. That's it. Here, Rongton says Asanga was such a good practitioner. He believed he was just interested to see Maitreya, and even though he saw Shakyamuni Buddha, he just thought it was Maitreya. But actual teaching is the same teaching. So from who heard is whether the future Buddha can teach. If future Buddha can teach, then maybe it's okay, believable. If future Buddha cannot teach, then of course has to be the present Buddha. In any case, Asanga was lucky to have a choice of two Buddhas. He chose the future Buddha. Can you believe? He chose the future Buddha? And this, therefore, the whole cult of the Maitreya teaching is very strong in Tibetan Buddhism and Mahayana circles, Maitreya. Okay, that's the lineage. Now we move to the actual teaching. Revealing the actual meaning of the instruction has two. Revealing the vessel. Revealing the vessel means who should we be, like a suitable student or who can understand this teaching studiously. Revealing the vessel, the candidate of the instructions, and presenting the actual presentation. So firstly, therefore, so this will be all about what qualities we should have as a studious disciple. First, faith is very important to enter the Dharma. Now, this is very important because these days there's amazing emphasis on being very critical, and as if you can find faults in Dharma, and you can always investigate exhaustively as if you need to put so much, Of course, our scientist fathers are doing very well. We should give full credit to them. They are good at doing everything. They can tell you why there's a particular smell after rain, and you know why there's that smell because it rains, things like that. So they're very good at that. And they'll tell you why, because they don't tell you because you got a nose. I'll tell you that. Because all their knowledge is about why the smell is like that after rain. They don't say there is a nose. They never talk about the nose or the consciousness that actually do that. So we have to really be careful about so much emphasis on reason, but losing the faith element of it. So Buddhism without faith, I think, would be no less than another philosophical kind of argument. So Tibetan Buddhism in particular, without faith, if you see the liveliness of Tibetan Buddhism, it's because of the devotion and faith in the teachings and the lineage. So therefore it says, because these days people are going on the other side, being too critical, as they're got a lot to gain, As if four of us can just be critical to our teachers or to our lineage, we can see faults, and then we can all think it's terrible. And then we all just leave that, and then we lose that too. And that's what is happening. Too over criticism without understanding the faith. So here, Rongton put this amazing. He says, faith is very important. First, to enter the Dharma. Faith is necessary support of your liberation. Faith will not liberate you. Without faith, it will not liberate you. Even you understand Dharma, you practice whatever. If you do too much, the opposite. Opposite of faith is too much too much being a critic, critical. Faith also functions as the foundation of your own qualities. Yeah, if you don't have faith, you will not develop any qualities of devotion, humility, and pure perception. All of that will not happen. You will see all the opposite. So the people who wanted to be very critical, they will have all the opposite. Instead of discipline, they lose the discipline. Devotion, they lose devotion. And their humility, no, because they're too good in criticizing, seeing points, faults of others. So, because we got that too much happening already, so you don't need Buddhism to help you to how to be more critical, So we have enough of that, and we have so many people who are so expert in their field of study, but they got no respect for each other. They never have respect for each other. They're all just against each other because knowledge become cause of selfishness. Knowledge didn't humble the knower, and that's the knowledge without humility is no knowledge. So that's why I said faith also functions as the foundation of all your own qualities. Faith also acts as companion of diligence. Yeah, when you don't have faith, your diligence will be discouraged. Oh, I don't want to practice like that. If he's like that, if they're like that, and then person throws the baby with the bathwater, and maybe himself falls with the basin. Yeah. Faith also functions as the companion of. He's the companion of diligence. If you have faith, your diligence will stay. Otherwise, you'll be so very critical, and because of critical, you don't become inspired, and then you lose your inspiration because you see faults in things, and the teaching only helps you to find faults. Teaching should help us to get rid of our faults. That's the main thing. It's not to look at other people's faults more. That's so people using that. That's where the suitable vessel doesn't become the vessel is broken. Vessel is broken. Faith is also storehouse of wisdom. Yeah, if you learn something, it will store the wisdom. If you don't have faith, you have a bit of wisdom at the beginning, you quickly just drops in. It's just like leaking vase. You pour in it, but it will not retain anything. Faith also is the container of instruction. Yeah, with faith you will say, it will hold the instruction. You will not forget the instruction. Without faith, no wholesome qualities will grow. Yeah, even if it will be just intellectual, spiritual materialism. It will become spiritual materialism, all about who knows more than who, that kind of thing. There's no devotion, no humility, no respect, no pure perception. And so, having discovered Dharma, if one lacks faith, now this is beautiful analogies. He says, if one lacks faith, then he lists how many? 11 things. If one lacks faith, there's no benefit by holding a mere form of Dharma practitioner. Even if you really do lots of Dharma practices, if you're losing faith in the lineage and the teaching and your fellow Sangha and your practitioners and the importance of humility, if you lose all of that, your form of practice is mere form. Without faith, it is similar to a field without harvest. Yeah, looks very vast, but no harvest. It's just crop failure. Yeah, then the person failed his Dharma practice because he lost faith in the Dharma, and as a result of that, in the lineage, and the result of that in the Sangha, and then his crops failed. All the plowing, all the sowing, all the irrigating gave no bountiful return. Yeah, so pari lewo me, in Tibetan we have a saying, pari lewo me, lewo le takche. Pari chowa me means one person went to fetch some yak dungs on the basket. He neither got the yak dung nor he brought back even the basket that he went to fetch the yak dung because the strap broke. Strap that actually carries broke, and therefore he couldn't bring any of the dungs nor the basket. So when you lose faith, you will not have anything left in you. So it's very dangerous. So it's like a field without harvest. It's like traveler without a vehicle. Yeah, the person is stranded. Person gets stranded because he's got no vehicle. Like that, when you have no faith, you will be stranded. It's like a sprout of a burnt seed. Yeah. The burnt seed, no matter how much you sow the seed, it will not germinate, So the person practices, but his quality is not increasing, humility is not increasing, pure perception is not increasing, kindness is not increasing, criticism is increasing. So it's like the burnt seed. It's like a handicap who has gone to an island of gold. He will return empty-handed, unlike others. Others will all bring things because they gone there and bring gold, but the crippled person didn't bring anything. It is like a corpse which has not lost its consciousness. So it means you're basically dead. Yeah, so if you have lost faith, means basically dead. Even you know many dharma or practice or forms or whatever, it's a walking corpse. It is a mad person who has not been seized by demons. So it doesn't need to be seized by demons because he's already seized. So people without faith are like already possessed by demons. He doesn't need another demon. He's seized by his ego. His ego. Yeah, you can see that's happening. You can see that people, they don't realize what they're doing to themselves or their sangha when they don't realize what they're trying to achieve. They just completely possessed by demons. It is a 4-footed beast who cannot walk on the ground. Basically means crippled. So useless foot. That none of his foot are able to walk. So it means he can't walk even with 4 feet, you know. So it means your life's all finished, collapse. It's a blind who looks with jarring eyes. If you don't have faith. So a blind cannot see, but he's trying to look. He can't see anything. Just like the person without faith is like a blind with that kind of look. It is like a leaf. It's like a deaf who listens with spiky ears. All these examples quite interesting, yeah. So that's that. Then he goes to explain. He says, a man without faith is like an ox with long dreadlock. Ox with long dreadlock. I don't know what that one is. I think in Tibet, all the men keep very long hair, you know. And men keep very long hair and a pigtail and quite colorful things, you know. Yeah, it looks like women, but they're not women. Men with a face like an ox with long dreadlock. I can't get that. Meaning, woman without faith is like a cow adorned with jewelry. Yeah. So if a woman without faith is like a beautiful but it's a cow. So that's a very, very misogynistic, don't you think? It's a very 13th century writing. 13th century writing. So that's quite interesting, you know. I mean, that's a good thing about translation is that it tells you the time when people lived, and it's quite okay to say these things. But these days, I don't know how many authors will be able to sell their books if they wrote like this. So anyway, the youth without faith is poisonous flower. Yeah, beautiful flower, but poisonous. So it means person who are youthful, they have no faith and devotion, is like poisonous flower. Elderly without faith is like a medium living in darkness. The medium can tell everything what people should do, but he himself doesn't know what's he doing. Quite interesting analogies. Generally, everyone finds it difficult to cultivate faith, as it is caused by accumulation merit. So here, this is very important. Why people are so easy not to have faith is because they don't have sufficient merit. So those people who have merit is caused by lots of accumulation. They got just the composure. They just had the nature not to think critically or negatively or critically. They just think kindly about someone. Then with that merit, they can see goodness in their parents, goodness in the others. They can see good because they have merit in there. Their mind is able to see things. Faith that is not conditioned by circumstances is privilege to some fortunate people. Yeah, so faith is a conditioned one. The person who possesses heartfelt faith will give rise to compassion to infinite sentient beings. So this is talking about the person who has this merit. Not only have they faith and devotion to the senior and whoever, but they have amazing kindness to other sentient beings, particularly those who have problems, those who have suffering, those who make mistakes. They are very, very compassionate to them because they know they will change if you have compassion to them. Their problems is not truly existing if you have compassion to them. Their problems are cause of your compassion. You will believe. You have fun. One with faith thinks like that. Yeah, because the people with problem are not hindrance to your growth, but cause for your growth. He will think like that. One with faith will think like that. One with they said, no, I can't work with people like that, and took off. And who can they work? Hardly with anybody. Left there, left everywhere. You know, so didn't stay anywhere very long. Did much because they don't have faith in the humanity. That if you persevere, it will be okay. It will change. Even somebody's difficult, but if you persevere, karma will shift both and them in the future. And so we have to faith in the law of karma, you know. We're not talking of faith in the God or Creator. We talk of faith in what we do, even if it's patient, difficult. It will shift one's own karma as well as them. Then we will be kind when they are difficult. So that's showing the person who possesses faith give rise to compassion to infinite sentient beings, not just few chosen ones, not on few good occasions, or not some favorite conditions. Even with extreme difficulties, you still unconditionally give compassion to them. He will show respect to unrelated religion and entrust faith in minor instructions. The person who has faith in his own spiritual practice will respect others, other unrelated religion. Other religious people, you don't put them down. You don't tell them they're wrong. You also talk about good thing about. This is exactly what His Holiness Dalai Lama does. He's always talk. He says he always sees others as one of him. He does not see himself as a Dalai Lama and others are less important. He sees this as another brother, another sister, and he goes with a visit to all little mosques or temples or synagogues or churches. He goes there and does exactly what these people do, and he will show respect because he has so much devotion that they also mean very well. They also need to be shown kindness and interest faith in minor instruction. The one who has faith will not look for big things, Even small instruction, he will show interest in this. Oh, what's in there for me? So always learn from everyone. Not just because they're teaching you something, but they may be looking very difficult to you. But even when they're difficult, he will say, there is maybe something I can learn from here. Because he always put faith, some good will come from this. A person whose life is adorned with faith is like a victory banner hoisted as a pinnacle on top of a tree of offerings. So if you have faith, then you will overcome your enemy of doubt, indecision, and doubt and kind of all the opposite, indecision, fear and anxiety. All this because one lacks faith. If one has faith, one will know how to forbear the difficulties, and then you will become victorious. He's beautiful among humans and gods. Person who has faith, even though things are really difficult things happening, he will not come out as defeated by the difficulties. He'll come out as much more humbled and purified and learned. He has faith. As the sign of possessing faith, he looks out for the spiritual mentor like Sadaprud, our ever-crying bodhisattva, Sadaprudita. So he was always looking for a spiritual friend and their instructions, and he knows that what he's hearing or what he's learning is what he has been missing all this time. So he's hearing exactly what he needs to hear, even though it may be sometimes a bit difficult for him. But he hears them. He will do anything to hear the teachings, like the Bodhisattva Sadaparudita, ever-crying bodhisattvas. Like Prince Siddhartha, he will not become attached to the splendor of material possession. So a person who has spiritual faith will not be distracted by material possession from doing the good work of Dharma. He's able to bear hardship like a king. King who has the great responsibility to shoulder the well-being of his subject and the whole country. Like that, he's not just working for himself, he's working for the whole country. Like that, person who has faith, when things are difficult, he wouldn't think of, oh, this is difficult, and then run in disarray. He will think of how can I help this not to be left abandoned in the middle of nowhere. He will make sure that it is carried through. One who has faith. So one will not sort of abandon things. Therefore, as faith is the root of all Dharma teaching, here faith is revealed as a necessary factor at the very beginning. In order to attain enlightenment, it is very important to ascertain the firm intention to renounce the vicious cycle of samsara. So now it's coming back to the formal Buddhist teachings about the fault of samsara or fault of selfishness that creates the samsara. And so if one has faith in believing what the samsara is full of suffering, if samsara is full of difficulties, when we hear that, one actually will heed to that and look actually and compare the notes that it is or not. one who has no faith, they say, no, my life is fine. What the hell they're talking about, you know? Why Buddhism is so negative about it? My life is quite perfect, except I'm interested in a few things, but otherwise my life is good. What are they talking about? So they will sort of react to the idea that samsara is full of suffering. They cannot take it, you know? They cannot take it because they don't have faith. Those who have faith, they can say, yes, I have seen that. I've seen those in power. I've seen those in wealth. I've seen those in various things. How long did it last? They didn't last very long. They all went in bad to worse. And they all looks good for a while. All, you know, goes pear-shaped in no time. So true. This is so true. I've seen them. And so people, then the teaching verifies their experience. Why? Because those who faith will understand that the demerits of existence is taught in order to arouse intention, to develop compassion, and to renounce samsara. So it's not taught so as to reject samsara, but try to practice kindness to sentient beings who don't know that. And because they don't know that, and then we develop compassion to them. They're so attached to the honey on the razor blade, you know, they don't realize if you leak that, it will break, it will cut your little tongue. So therefore, talking about the danger of razor blade is not a discouragement to enjoy the sweetness of honey, but make sure that you don't cut the tongue with it. Cut the tongue with it. The demerits of cycle of existence are inconceivable. So now Rongton goes, the samsara is suffering of the samsara is inconceivable. So we need to listen to the teaching. The demerits of samsara means our vicious cycle, our inability to disentangle ourselves from greed, hatred, ignorance. That's samsara. Samsara isn't talking about the land or the country or people. Samsara is the mind that gets so tangled up into the things that are impermanent as permanent, unrealistic as realistic, unsatisfactory as satisfactory, and all this kind of complete misunderstanding of that of course, creates these inconceivable sufferings. Tormented by a sickness of desire, the body, speech, mind are drowned by the four rivers of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Now, he's encapsulating the suffering of human realms, is because we are usually sick of desire. People are usually suffering. People may not suffer from physical medical condition. They have no medical condition. They have no medical condition, but they have this sickness of desire. They're just distraught for not getting what they want, and they're so depressed because they didn't get what they want. So they're quarreling with the father, or not talking to somebody, or think the other one is wrong because they didn't get what they want. So they're sick from desire. They didn't get what they want, and if they got what they want, they would be not better off anyway. They would be too attached with that, thinking that's the only thing, soon to realize that too has only use by date. They don't realize everything that you desire are only temporarily desirable, but will soon turn into misery if you become attached to it particularly. So, sickness of desire, tormented by sickness, desire of what I want for my body, what I want for me, what I want for now. Most people think of me, body, and now. So that's the sickness of desire. One who thinks of, who have no sickness of desire, thinks of future, the benefit of others, and the benefit of mind stream. So that's not desire, that's liberation. This is liberation. Sickness of desire, the body, spirit, mind are drowned by the ocean of four rivers of birth, old age. People are suffering. You know, even the depression in the societies, because people can't accept the old age. They're complaining about this old age. They're complaining about the illness. They're complaining about the loss. They're never accepting the old age as a thankfulness to having lived long. If you pray to live long, you will live long, and you live long, you get the result, old age. So it's your fruitful result of your prayers. I mean, why are people complaining about the prayers they made, being fruitfully fulfilled to become old and gray? They say many happy returns. I mean, happy returns, many gray returns, I think. Many more years live, grayer and grayer you will become. I it's completely so deceptive. Happy returns. I mean, longer you live, you're less enjoyable things are, because even your senses cannot enjoy. so it's just completely unpalatable to think that the longer you live, the less you can enjoy even. You can't even hold the things properly. You can't even chew the things properly. You can't even put the damn thing in the mouth by yourself, you know. Someone tried to feed you, also you'll go like this. You know, so what the heck are we talking about? So old age is basically a result of prayers. Having lived long. Yes, he lived long. Lived long. But if you have humility to accept, you don't need to be drowned in the ocean of all day saying, poor me, I can't do this. You should say, oh, I had so many years, you know, I did this and that, and I'm still able to enjoy and do few things like that, and therefore not envying the young and able and well, healthy people. It's very important. Some people like that. I know one Geshe, he was very old, and I said, how are you? He said, my body's finished, but I don't mind. It's amazing. He said with such confidence. So I said, that's really good. He says, my body's finished, but I don't mind. I knew that. So he said he wasn't talking about, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. He wasn't complaining. He wasn't listing the complaints, you know. He was saying, I don't mind, because that's the nature of things. It's amazing sense of dignity that he's not drowned in the ocean of old age, even though his body is. But mind has not lost to the body, which is the real mind of a matter, you know. So people who are drowned in such ocean of old age and sickness. When people are sick, if a person who has the Dharma, even when sickness, they say, may this sickness, this sickness is a result of many, many things. May my body enjoy many years of perfect health, you know. Time that I'm now sick is actually very short, you know. So it's very fair share, acceptable, you know. This body is a very, very kind of transient collection, unsatisfactory vehicle anyway. So it will have to have some wear and tear. And I actually have many years of perfect health, and now this part is not working. You can't bring parts from Sweden or Norway, you know. It's just maybe you can put some steel and here, there, join something, but you definitely know that you are not no body, you know. You know you're not body. Yeah. And particularly, so you're not drowned in the ocean of sickness when you have Dharma, when you have faith. Those who don't have faith, they think they shouldn't be sick, they shouldn't be old. But even though their oldness become many years of healthy praying to live long, now they are complaining the result of prayers that fulfilled. You know, so even Buddha showed symptoms of some not so well. You know, they say he had some food poisoning or something, you know, when he passed away. So you got to die from something. Obviously not from, you know, we can say you die from birth, but nobody want to accept that. But they always want to die of this or die of that. So most people are drowned in the ocean of this sickness and death, and then death in particular. You wouldn't believe how many people are depressed because they lost their mother or the father or the husband or the only child. You wouldn't believe how many are depressed because they are still grieving. They haven't stopped grieving. They haven't tasted any food better ever since they lost that, because the attachment to the person was so big, and that is the cause of suffering. They didn't have understanding that death is universal, and so it's not just you and your only son, and so on and so on. Instead of becoming sort of detached from that, one become even more fonder of the person who died. You know, it's too late to be fond. When you're alive, they're arguing and quarreling, and when they're dead, you want the dead person to come back so that you can quarrel more. What's the fact here? Let them go and rest in peace. When they're alive, they're quarreling, you know. When they're dead, they're crying. It's a very hypocrite, you know. Have a good fight and let them go. So see, the human beings don't know how to live, you know. When they don't have, they want. When they have, they don't want, you know. So When they decide to make happy, So it says, bound by iron chains of selfishness and caught in the net of various sufferings. So he says, people who don't understand the shortcomings of samsara will make their life even more miserable. That's why they need to understand. They need to have faith. That's the nature of existence. Wherever one is born in the 6 realms of existence, there's not a single moment of true happiness. Now, this is very important because true happiness doesn't mean there is no pleasure or there's no little enjoyment, like, say, very good weather, we don't feel extremely hot or cold. You can say there's this. But this pleasure is temporary. It will quickly, how long will sit? Another 7 minutes I will talk. After that, if I sit there longer, you will start boring. You will start boring. I also think it's not a good idea to stay long. So nothing is enjoyable really permanently, only temporarily only say, particularly our span of concentration is not so great to focus so long, isn't it? So it wasn't the Dharma. I don't think anybody wanted to listen like this, Really, who wanted to listen late in the night at 9:30? They'd be mostly going to sleep because of Dharma, like Sadaprarudita went so much great length to search for Dharma. So we have our ability to listen to the Dharma. We have faith that listening to the Dharma will slowly, something will drop. The penny will drop in a mind. So in order to attain enlightenment, it is very necessary to ascertain the firm intention of renouncing the vicious cycle of samsara and its cause. So this is talking of selfishness. The cause of samsara is selfishness. And it's cause of all unsatisfactoriness of not birth, not separation, not losing, and not getting sick, but selfishness. I don't want to get sick. I don't want to get old. If there are many millions of getting sick and getting drowned and dying, we don't feel them. So we are not alone. That if you really look at it, therefore the demerits of cycle of existence is taught in order to arouse intention to develop compassion and renunciation from samsara. The demerits of cycle of existence is inconceivable, tormented by these sufferings. Wherever one is born, there's not a single place in the whole realm of existence there's a real lasting happiness. There is suffering of heat and cold in the hells. Also in this world as well, in the world, so many places so cold. They don't have they don't have electricity. They don't have any heating. They're all living in a very cold, wrapped up with many layers of clothes. If they can't barely move, it's so cold, freezing. We have just remote controls. We have remote control. All the temperature is controlled. Suffering of stupidity and servitude in the animal realm. Even those who are born in the higher realms, there's no way of getting out of suffering. The cycle of existence is like a prison cell. Yeah, people are in the prison of their own making. They're angry at someone, but their own anger makes them to see others like that. They think the others are like that, therefore they're making their life is miserable. They don't realize their own anger or their own enmity, or they say enemy is not enemy if you don't have enmity. So therefore prison of enmity or ill will is because one has this ill will. So one has actually built a prison cell. No one is in the prison by mistake. Some may be, one or two, but so like that, any person who is in that kind of prison of their mentality is their own making. The cycle samsara is like a prison cell. Afflictions like a venomous snakes. Enemies. The afflictions are that is actually spread the poison. So you don't know how to get out of prison because you have the venom in you. The venom in you makes even you live in a very nice house, but you don't feel comfortable in it because you have the venom of hatred, like a snake. Negative deeds are like a deadly poison. So Rongton uses these amazing examples. Cycle of existence is a prison, afflictions are snakes, and negative karma are the poisons. Gain and respect are like traps. Now he goes to the other side, Gain and respect, which most people seek, are the traps. Are the traps. People get attached to that. And they cannot accept anything less than that. When they lose, they live with such disarray. Some people, when they lose office, you can see, they can't cope with it. Gain respect like traps. Material possession like earth and rock. Yeah. What it means, material possession is so heavy. It holds you, it binds you. It doesn't allow you to go anywhere because you can't leave it, this, that. Everybody is attached to something, and as a result of that, they are stuck. They're stuck where they are because of their things. Their things. They become so attached to their things. Hated enemy is like a disease. Yeah. If so long as your hate does not decrease, you are sick. Basically, you're medically no sign of sickness, but as long as you stay hated, you are sick anyway. So enemy is a result of enmity, not of the person. If you don't have enmity, the object doesn't say, I'm your enemy. People say, what? Why are you so angry at me? Yeah, because he's got enmity to you. Then at least you feel a bit relief. Otherwise they think that maybe I did something wrong. Enemy is a result of enmity. It's like a disease. Loved ones are like iron chain. Yeah, people want to have loved ones, but they are the chain. They just bind you. They just change you from doing anything, from whatever it is. Quite a lot of divisions, disunity, disharmony is all caused by attachment to the loved ones. Body is like an illusion. Body is like illusion. You think your body is strong or straight or healthy or whatever. There's like illusion. It only looks like one moment you look strong, another moment you're diagnosed with some illnesses. So it's an illusion. You thought you had years to live, but you were told you got only 5 years to live. You have years to live, 50 years, but you got told you got only 5. That even might not be possible. So body is an illusion. Life is like a water bubble. It's there, it looks bright, but empty pocket of air. It will burst in no time. Since breath is like a mist, so breath is like a mist, therefore time of death is unknown. The mist disappears. It means there's no breath, means there's no life. Simple as that. You can't say I've got friends. You can't say I've got security. You can't say I've got a lot of friends. You can't say I have a lot of things because you have no breath. Then finish. Life just disappears as soon as the breath finish. Therefore, time of death is unknown. Hence, do not have a vision for a long, definite future. So do not plan for long future. Think of death as early as you can. Mourning after death will not let go whatsoever. Mourning after death. After the morning after you die, you have to let go everything. You might as well better let go everything now. Therefore, do not make plans specifically for this life for a very long time. So the practitioner shouldn't think of all the material things for a very long time. Death will not benefit from anything except Dharma. Yeah. So unless you practice Dharma, you will not have much benefit from all the things you have. Only Dharma will help you. Even in a very tricky situation, if you think dharmically, it will help you enormous way. And even at the death, you will not believe how much Dharma helps you to cope with the letting go and accept the death. Therefore, do not delay the important matters into the future. Yeah, if you really pay heed to the Dharma with faith, he says, do not delay your Dharma practice. And Dharma practice doesn't necessarily mean just doing outwardly Dharma things, but talking about genuinely changing your attitude, emptying the ill wills, and changing your perceptions, disassociating your perception from yourself, and therefore perceive sentient being with kindness and without any ill will or hostility towards sentient beings. However difficult they are, see them as objects of compassion. Then you're practicing Dharma. Dharma doesn't mean you're always rattling drums and blowing trumpets and and doing a lot of colorful culture things. Means that you need to empty your mind from all those afflictions. Then you can see how much Dharma is helping you. You can do a lot of spring cleaning. Within a half an hour meditation or prayer or listening to the teaching like this, you can say, "Oh yeah, that's really I need to do that," and you're even are doing it. Even are doing while listening to this. So and when you that will stay in you, and that is called practice Dharma. Listening to the Dharma is Dharma practice. Remembering these concepts and ideas and really taking the note in, and that I will do that. That is Dharma practice. Good in the beginning means the hearing it. Good in the middle is thinking about it according to the teaching. Good in the end is putting it into meditation and then transforming your life and see the futility of enmity. See it's so wrong to think it's fault of the other. See that if there's their share of mistake, they're object of your compassion, not of enmity. Then you practice in Dharma. The real practice Dharma is like quite a few blinks of eyes. You change quite a few views. You have changed quite a few opinions and views, and you feel washed. And you realize, I could think like this. That's really good. Dharma means self-restoration. Restore your dignity. Menja means treatment. Treating yourself to become well. So that you don't have bruises and bumps in your mind. You're not holding those wrong views in your mind of others, of yourself, of yesteryears. And then that is Dharma practice. That's why listening to the Dharma is the most precious gift. Because people who only understand Dharma will listen to the Dharma. People who listen to the Dharma really get bountiful result. They couldn't believe how they could look within their mind and then see it's just I need to switch this thought into that thought, because Dharma says don't live with poison, don't live with a venomous snake, particularly in the same room. Unless you're a snake keeper, If you're a snake keeper, you can keep it. But even then, you have to remove the venom. Remember that. I know one Swiss guy who was in charge of our refugee camp. He was one of the top 7 specialists in snake in the world. He loves snakes. He catches snakes everywhere. And he was so good at catching the snake. He knows all of it. Then every time he catches a snake, he removes the venom, and then keeps it in a bottle and put labels. But eventually he died of snake bite. While helping our Tibetan village, he died of snake. So living with snake is very dangerous. Even you think you can remove sin, But this snake is not some python. This snake is not some only appears in certain seasons. This snake is invisible one, curling in your arrogance, curling in your enmity, curling inside your this camouflage with your self-importance. This snake is very deceptive, This snake doesn't hiss. This snake doesn't tell you are here. This snake is that camouflage into your own comfort zones and don't realize it is actually there to destroy you. So therefore. It's important not to delay important things in the future and start practicing Dharma. The two Dharmas are teaching Dharma and realization Dharma. Listening to the teaching, studying texts like this, and paying heed to them is the scriptural Dharma. And then you think about it, then compare the notes in your life and certain bruised part of your life or your relationship with people or your attitude to someone or even towards yourself. You realize, I should stop this, I should change this, I should drop this, I should repair this. That's called realizational Dharma. Realization of Dharma is you have to come to gain some kind of fortitude in seeing how true the Dharma is, and then drop your views, drop your opinions, drop your perceptions, and then have a good parting from those wrong views that you once held. You wouldn't believe how much difference it will make, not only to you, but your perception of people in your life. Straight away, that venom has been removed, and therefore you will see your father, you'll see your mother with kindness and gentleness. You will see them with respect and gratitude that previously you were so disabled by your arrogance, by your disrespectfulness and carelessness towards them. But because you heard Dharma, you listened to it, therefore you realized. Tokpecho in Tibetan. Lungkicho is the scriptures, that these texts, Even you remember all the concepts and ideas and have your Buddhist glossary and all that, that's just that's just scripture, that's just the theory. But you need to put into practice and realize that. And that realization could be happening right in not only in the teaching, but you could be thinking along these lines. Oh, I was told I had snake in my mind. What is this venom? And why is this ill will? Why I can't feel comfortable talking to him or mom or dad? Why I don't want to even dare to talk to them? Is this the venom they're talking about? Yeah, that's right. That's the venom they're talking about, is ill will and resentment. Oh, that's the teaching. So then you're gaining realization. You don't, you have realization Dharma in least expected times and places when your good mind is put to good use. You wouldn't believe the mind will catch. This is exactly that they're talking about. This thing about my enmity or ill will about this or that. This is the snake they're talking about. And then you realize those analogies, those metaphors are so revealing that we don't realize. We take medicine to get well, but we still keep our ill will. I mean, what's the point of it? Taking medicine from this end and getting ill from this end. People take the medicine on every day, Oh, they really don't forget. Oh, mothers help the boys, husband help the wife, mothers, grandmothers help by the granddaughters to take the medicine on time. But still, everybody's keeping the ill will and resentment, anger, like a all rallying support to each other, trying very hard to keep that enmity going. I mean, what's the point of it? That's not living. He said, is dead. Dead with consciousness. Corpse, walking corpse. Yeah, you can see quite a lot of walking corpses. So one needs to come alive. Get the life back by starting to realize Dharma. Tokpecho, Talk pictures. You could be listening, you could be talking about these sort of things, your friends and families, have a really good, very open discussion with your friends about how true the Dharmas are, if we can really come to realize, and how important it is to think like that. That's the realization of Dharma. And you wouldn't believe how much kind of a sort of you feel uplifted, You feel like you really feel that your life has now reason to live, because now you don't have to be put this strong, shackle on your shoulder. Now you can just get rid of. We want to throw these people who are suppressing us. We thought we became revolutionary. We have democracy, but we still have no freedom from ill will. Most people suffering from suppression, their ego and ill will, and perfection wisdom is how to level this problem. Perfection wisdom is how to level this problem as the medicine. So we will stop here, everybody, tonight. So that's really talking the first part, how we as a student, as a practitioner of Dharma of general and particularly perfection wisdom, need to look in ourselves, how to have faith, how to listen to the Dharma, and then do some inner work and do some self-realization of practices and thinking thinking and discussing in your own mind, and then change your perceptions, opinions, and then you will see how much of the venom is reducing from your life, and as a result of that, your perceptions, your thoughts, your feelings, even satisfaction in the things you do, even difficulties you have, you are able to accept them with tenderness, and then things actually will give you more power to overcome them than the problem becoming too much to handle. And because one's mind is now not a container to hold all of these things. So with this, we conclude here. Sorry, I wouldn't have any time to take questions, even though there's some little points here. Some people have connection's not good. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm sorry. Your connection's not good, but you're there. You're there. Very good. Yeah. Okay. Amy, we'll have to take the question next time. Tonight we'll finish here. Thank you for your eagerness to ask questions, but I think we're a little bit after time tonight, so we will take some questions next week. Thank you, everybody. So let's do the really good dedication marriage, because we are very fortunate to have this time together with each other and listen to the Dharma in our comfort, in our freedom. To practice Dharma and listen to the teachings. So giving everybody, so many of you have Zoomed, and there are so many here, and I would like to thank everybody and do the offering of our prayers. According to the Tibetan and lunar calendar, we are coming to a new year soon, so we can offer our prayers so that the world will just close the chapter of the difficult year that it has gone, and now look at that as a kind of exhaustion of the negative collective karma of sentient beings. Hopefully, sentient beings will come out very stronger and more kinder towards each other. How much we need each other. When you see how much the governments are rolling the vaccines to their population free, it's so moving, so moving. So that we have so much goodness in the world that some countries couldn't afford to give free. Those countries, they will cost them huge. Even then, the poor people, they will take the injections because at least they have this kind of medicine. So at least there's a little bit of reprieve of opening. And may this practice together will put our mind in a better state with realizing the trueness of the Dharma. So with this, we dedicate the marriage. Thank you, everybody. Mahayana whatever merit I have may hope because the levels to the Mahayana courage manjushin would as a man following all the example I should dig all the matter mede salam body jeda teba na yadaza where has been bo me dingre freely without generation. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank